patagalan ng ating episode, no? Ang activity number 1. Okay, we are so thankful we have Sir John Joseph Tabang. As I've seen his profile, talaga pong he is really into sharing, and of course, siya po ay isang speaker, no? A freelance speaker na kung saan he's delivering and sharing topics to many individuals in different organization, and we are so thankful having here because he will be delivering this topic: anxiety growth paradox, turning fear into opportunity in times of COVID-19. Once again, let's all give a virtual clap to Coach John Joseph Tabang. Good morning, sir.
Thank you. Maraming salamat. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. And I hope na pwedeng ma-share yung screen. Paano ba ma-share?
Yes, sir. You may, Coach Josh, can you please add Coach John as a co-host?
Co-host na, Coach.
All right.
Okay. So, medyo tinatraverse ko pa ito, ha?
Sige lang, Coach.
Whiteboard ba? No, I mean, paano makita yung ano ko? Kita ba ako? Nakikita ba ako? Nakikita ba ako?
So far, Coach Josh, ako lang yung naka-turn on camera, no?
Okay.
Share screen, okay. Coach.
Okay.
Yan.
Right. So, visible na ako. Ako ay nakikita na. Hindi pa rin.
Okay. Yan. Start.
Yan, nakikita yung presentation ko?
Yan. Okay.
Okay. So, sisimulan ko na, ha? First of all, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. And thank you very much for attending this this series. Sabi na nga ni Sir JR na these are a couple of series and this is the 33rd. Lucky number 33 nga, kumbaga, sinasabi na. Maraming salamat. And is this the first of its kind na something related with coping? A topic that's related with coping?
Exactly, Coach. Kasi more of physical education teaching opportunities yung before.
Of course. This is very important because I myself coach din naman ako and I find the value of being able to cope. Kasi sabi na nga nila, paano ka makakapagbigay kung wala kang ibibigay? So, kailangan puno ka muna bago ka may maibigay sa iba. And part of that is the ability to cope. So, first of all, let me introduce myself. Ako si John Joseph Tabang. What makes me, let's just say, qualified to talk about anxiety is that I've been also providing these seminars with AYAC University and Unified Maryland University as well sa ibang bansa din naman. And, I've been talking to high performers and I would consider you as coaches because I said I'm also a coach as a high performer. For us to be able to become a coach, kailangan natin pagdaanan yung process of being an athlete, of being an individual who's able to share, and therefore, pag coach ka talaga, ikaw ay umaapaw ng karunungan. I studied my Masters of Human Developmental Psychology sa DLSU and currently I'm doing my MBA at RTU. I do research, I publish articles na ang current line ko is with Integrative Healthcare. And also, I own a small business na naman called 46 Consultancy kung saan nagpo-provide kami ng life coaching from mixed martial arts to psychosocial service for civilians and more recently sa mga sundalo, sa mga Marine Special Forces. I'm also a volunteer worker. I handled cases in disaster areas related with trauma and of course, this topic at hand, anxiety. And currently, I am the Pinweight Champion of Balikatan MMA in the UFC. And dissolved na yung organization na yun. So, undisputed na tayo. Wala na tayo makakalaban. But what really makes me, I could say, qualified to talk about this seminar is that I have anxiety attacks. I have bouts of anxiety. So, right. So, you may have already heard of this line, a little anxiety is good, but too much is bad. Because really, anxiety is neither good nor bad. If you would think about it, it's a biological programming. It's not just an emotion. It's a programming in our system. And if Mother Nature was wise enough, was great enough, bakit niya iiwanan yung ganitong klaseng programming that most of us would think is negative? But it is a necessity. Just like guilt, the feeling of guilt, the feeling of shame, the feeling of anxiety. When you feel guilt, what's this impulse that you have? When guilt is there, you have the action for you to take actions for your inactions. Basically, pag nagigilty kayo, pakiramdam ng guilt motivates you to do something na hindi mo nagawa before. And also, just like with depression, when you feel depressed, it's a sign that you need to reevaluate the way that you process your emotions. So, anxiety, let's just say, is a feeling that reminds us that there is something too important to focus on. Because pag hindi tayo nag-focus sa bagay na yun, may feeling na uneasy, right? And when you feel uneasy, would you just let it stay there? For most of us, when we feel this uneasiness, we take action. So, anxiety is biological. What matters now is how you relate to anxiety. Anong meaning ng takot para sa iyo? Para sa ibang tao, yung takot nakaka-debilitate. Para sa ibang tao, yung takot it's a sign, right? And most of our fears, right? 99% of them hindi pa nangyayari. Okay? So again, ano bang value ng anxiety if this is the case? If you look at it the other way around, paano kaya kung wala tayong kaba? Sa tingin nyo, lahat ng mga, sabihin natin, lahat ng mga disiplina natin, ng mga successes natin, our sacrifices, would it have come true kung lahat tayo petics lang? I definitely think na hindi. Right? So again, anxiety, established muna natin dito, is either good nor bad. Right? But the problem is that some people, they don't know how to process anxiety. They don't even know ano yung feeling na anxiety, especially for us coaches. Why? Kung masyado kang focused with what you're doing at hand, sometimes you forget to process your own emotions. You spiral down. And when you spiral down, you head somewhere na hindi mo inaakala, and you might do something that is crazy. Okay? Right. So that's the problem. But what if you don't know that you are experiencing it? So mabilisan, let me share you my personal story of anxiety. The first time that I had a panic attack where it almost cost my life and cost the life of someone else. See, before February, alam naman natin nangyari before February, before the lockdown, everything was going according to plan. I mean, I was in control. I was feeling in control. I'm pretty sure most of us, if not all of us, was feeling that sense of control. Business was booming. Yung mga opportunities na naibibigay for 46 was compounding. I was providing talks, and I was providing talks for doctors and other affiliate businesses. So, nabigyan din kami ng opportunity to train, sinabi ko na nga, Marine Special Forces, and became the first ever MMA course in Philippine Army history. On a personal side, yun, tuloy-tuloy lang ang laban. Ang sarap ng feeling. I was running for my third title, supposedly this September, for UFC King of the Fight. Okay? And kumpiyansa ako with the finances. Bumili ako ng maliit na bahay. Maliit lang. Di siya kagandahan na aking nire-refurbish at binabayaran din. So, I mean, everything was going great. Everything was going according to plan. And not until March 15 happened, and you know what happened in March 15, right? The country decided to go on lockdown. So, when lockdown came, walang training, walang interaction, I live alone, right? In my older house. So there was a pause with everything. There was a pause with hiatus. There was a pause in normalcy. Sa kalagitnaan ng isolation na ito, naka-experience po ako ng sore throat, ng ubo, weight gain. And nagkaroon ako ng swollen lymph node kasi laki ng jawline. And if you have a swollen lymph node, it's a sign that you're fighting an infection, right? To think about it, it's the worst formula that you could have. Namamaga leeg mo, halos nilalagnat ka, tapos sa labas, may virus na nangyayari. So, if you put 2 and 2 together, baka most likely isipin mo na nagka-COVID ka na rin. Now, but here's the trouble. Here's the problem. Maybe it's a personal problem. Every time that I feel sick, I'm not the type di ako yung tipo na pumupunta sa doktor. Ako yung tipo na, daanin mo lang sa train niya, mawawala yan. No pain, no gain mentality. The grind mentality. Right? And I'm pretty sure na hindi ako alone. Most of us coaches na ganun yung feeling pag masama ang pakiramdam, especially athletes tayo. In some degree, we are athletes. Dinadaan na natin sa training. Okay? On the work side of things, I was experiencing unfamiliar work. I was experiencing no work, by the way, kasi nakasarado tayo, di ba? So, umanap ako ng sideline. Kailangan kumita. Ayoko naman magkautang dahil nagbabayad ako ng bahay. Nahirap. So, pumasok ko sa 4 na gig. Proxy. So, kumbaga diskarte na lang. Naging proxy ako ng 4 na doktor kasi since online. So, may araw na ako si Dr. A, ako si Dr. B. So, kaya na bahala mag-judge kung ano ba yun. Pero, it got the bills paid din naman. But it was very overwhelming because I have to wake up around 3 a.m., 5 p.m. So, sleep wasn't intact. And also, I'm beginning to question my capability as a business owner. Kasi parang lumulubog na yung negosyo ko eh. First, no training, onti na lang interaction. I had these things wrestling in my mind. And in one morning, habang dinadrive ko po yung fiancé ko sa trabaho, she was a frontliner sa bangko. And dinadrive ko lang siya. Tapos nung pabalik na, I had this feeling habang nagdadrive ako, parang may gustong sumakal sa akin. Nagdadrive lang ako. Parang nahirapan ako. Ang bigat sa dibdib. Tapos nagta-tunnel vision ako. Tapos may pakiramdam ako na parang may gustong sumakal sa akin sa loob ng kotse. So, unconsciously, binibilis ako yung takbo ko. I mean, mind you, hindi ko alam kung ano nangyayari sa proseso na to. Na-process ko na lang pagkatapos. Pero during that time, parang nalulunod ka sa madaling salita sa loob ng kotse. Parang nagko-cave in yung kotse. Nilakasan, binilis ako yung kotse. Then, there was this person na patawid na siya at dire-diretso ko. Tapos, tong tao na to, umilag siya. Basically, hindi ko alam na may taong dumaraan at yung utak ko diretso lang at kung hindi siya tumalon out of that place, nasagasaan ko na siya. Nalaman ko lang yun na nag-sink in na sa akin na halos masasagasaan ko na yung tao. Buti na lang na paano kaya kung may suit siyang headset, di natin masabi kung hindi niya nakita ko along the road, right? I mean, most likely na nabangga ko na yun. Pero after that process, hindi mo alam kung ano nangyayari. Nag-sink in na. And then I had to stop the car, pinigil ko lang muna. Lumabas ako, tapos umiyak ako. Doon ko na-realize na parang mamamatay na ata ako. Mamamatay na ba ako? I know, it might sound absurd, but that's anxiety. Very absurd. very, very, very irrational sa madaling salita. Doon na yung feeling na parang ito na ata yung katapusan. Yun yung naramdaman ko. Okay? So, it was my first experience of a panic attack. And funny na sabihin ko na kahit ang dami ko ng alam or marami akong nagmamarunong pagdating sa anxiety, it would take an experience of panic attack for me to be able to appreciate. I'm saying appreciate sa aking pinagdaanan. Kasi I try to help people. I could only discuss about the theories. Pero yun na nga, when you experience the panic attack itself, ma-realize mo that these types of crises could either make you or break you. You could take the crisis and take it as something na winasak ka and stay shattered, or take the crisis as a call, as a sign, as a button for you to reevaluate the way you live your life, the way you assess yourself. So that's how I see anxiety as a paradox. When you say paradox, it's the opposite meaning, but it has a very it's still intact, but it also has a sense of opposite. That's why I see anxiety as a paradox. You may see it as something bad, you may see it as something good, or you may see it as something good and bad occurring at the same time. Okay, so before we try to move on, pag-usapan muna natin yung definition of anxiety, right? Many of us would hear this term anxiety, but the trouble when it comes sa mga mental problems is that pag sinabi mo anxiety, almost automatically iniisip natin na some sort of mental disorder. Tulad ng pag may nagsabi na de-depress, mental disorder na agad. We have to understand that these mental problems, I'm not saying problems, not illnesses, are spectrums. You could have it from 5 to 10, from 10 to 10, depende na lang sa tao. So, we all experience it, the biological mechanisms of that, but we experience it differently and we attach meaning for it differently. Alright? So, yan na nga, ito siya. It starts first in the reptilian brain. It's a very primitive part of our brain. Pasensya, magkakaroon ng onting jargons dito, pero matindi ang confidence ko sa inyo as academics as well. It starts with the reptilian brain. You could see it there. Yung kulay yellow. It's part of the brainstem. Reptilian brain has been developed since, early ancestors. Hence the term reptilian. Even reptiles have that. It's a type of brain that processes fight or flight. It's very immediate. Okay? It's very immediate. It's responsible for the fight or flight or freeze or include mo na yung FOC response, kasama yan dyan. So, yan muna nagpa-process the reptilian brain. When we see a stimulus, before we could even think that it's danger, sometimes napapansin natin we either go on fight mode or flight mode. Kunyari, may saber-tooth tiger. Yan. Panahon ng ancestors. Balik tayo sa early ancestry natin. May saber-tooth tiger. Pag nakita mo yan, either triggered ang fight mo or ang flight response mo. Now, as we move on, a couple of centuries, a couple of millennia, we developed the limbic brain, wherein we try to attach emotions. It's also called the mammalian brain. You could see there sa kulay pula, mammalian brain. This is the part where we begin to process emotions, feelings. Again, wala pang logic, feelings pa lang naman. For example, when you feel the fear, you could attach the emotion of anxiety to it. When you feel the fight response, right, from your reptilian brain, you could attach the emotion of anger to it. Na-develop na natin yun. And then as we move further along the timeline, na-develop na yung neocortex. Tayo ang meron yan. It's responsible for memory, it's responsible for logic, for sequences, for putting meaning, right? So what happens now? Every time that we are triggered with a fight or flight response, we attach emotions to that, and we now attach memories. Kaya nga masasabi natin yung mga most memorable experiences natin sa buhay, may kasama siyang emotion. May kasamang either masamang emotion or mabuting emotion. Those types of experiences, memories, mas mabilis silang ma-encode sa ating system. Alright? Now, the problem is that, I won't say problem. What happens is that pag stimulate itong fight response, let's talk about fight response, it leads to the increase of cortisol, the stress hormones, adrenaline, and norepinephrine. Basically, you are ready to kill, you're ready to fight, you're ready to head on, nalabanan niya saber-tooth tiger, or you're ready to run the savannah para maiwasan yung saber-tooth tiger. Again, now here's the challenge. We're no longer being chased by tigers, but we still have that fight or flight response, no? Everywhere na nangyayari. No more saber-tooth tiger, pero let's just say if someone stresses you out, if someone trolls on you, if the work, if your family, whatsoever, they cause that fight response, right? An emotion of anxiety is attached, and you may also begin to learn that person's situation or whatever causes you with that anxiety. Again, anxiety is normal. Ang importante dito is the meaning that we attach to it, right? But when it becomes pathological, when it becomes learned, okay? Yung nakikita mo pa lang at natitrigger na agad yung ganong anxiety, it may become some sort of learned helplessness. It may become a crisis. I mean, worse, if someone experiences for a prolonged period of time with all the cortisol, maraming systems sa katawan mo ang madadamage, just like your heart, just like your gut microbiota, and also your brain, okay? Right, so move along muna tayo dito. I'm gonna talk about athletes and high performers. We're gonna look at older studies, right? This is a meta-analysis done back in 2018 with more than 5,000 athletes. Now, I could only imagine na in these times of lockdown, definitely mas mataas na yung mga numbers na yan. Now, according to this, 34% of present athletes had some sort of mental distress. That's 1 out of 3. Kung tatlo tayo, isa sa atin na may pinagdadaanan na mental distress. The problem is that iba-iba yung coping mechanisms ng mga tao. For athletes who don't know how to process what they're feeling, they don't even have a label for what they're feeling, right? Most of them, 1 out of 5, led to some sort of alcoholism. Dinaan na lang sa alcohol is to numb the feeling. Others develop difficulty sleeping, eating disorders, right? And furthermore, on these studies, 2000, 1 out of 5 athletes have experienced anxiety or depression. So like what I said, even coaches and athletes such as us, high performers, basically pinagdadaanan din natin itong anxiety nito. But the way I see it, the way I presented it, what sets us different as leaders as well, you are leaders, is that most of us don't tell other people na pinagdadaan natin itong anxiety nito. Kasi you are a leader. You are leading a class. Sino bang leader? Sino bang teacher na gustong sabihin sa class, kinakabahan ako ngayon sa araw na ito, cancel muna ang class. Definitely wala. We are the type that lead other people, right? So the trouble when it comes to athletes and high performers is that because of the stigma, they don't express, they don't tell other people na pinagdadaan. And we've talked about that. It's okay. It's okay not to be okay, right? But for some cases, tulad natin na, we don't want to share that we are not okay because other people, such as our students, coaches tayo, are riding along those lines. And as of these, as we're talking right now, one out of three, is this statistically correct, may pinagdadaanan na some sort of mental distress. All right? Yun na nga. Now, this one I would share to you. I've presented sa PGH before and I did a mini survey. Siyempre, mga doktor yung mga yun. Kailangan natin magpa-impress. Ako lang yung nag-iisang psychologist and psychology is not daw a science. Anyway, I conducted a mini survey with 125 athletes and coaches. Right? And a part of this survey, I asked the participants, have you ever told someone of your psychological distress? Right? So in these findings, we could say that 7 out of 10 people are experiencing some sort of anxiety or depression, and only 3 have come out. Only 3 have seek advice. It doesn't have to be professional, may kinausap sila. The 7 remain in the dark. The 7, they didn't even know that they had anxiety post. Okay? Hindi nila alam yung experience. Masyadong busy sa trabaho na hindi nila napoproseso yung sarili nila na nakakamdaman. Get nyo? It happens. It happens even to the best of us when we get too preoccupied. Right? And this is typical according to literature, wherein high performers, just like athletes and coaches who assume a leadership position, wherein many people are counting on them to be fearless, deny the fact na natatakot sila. So, I guess yun din yung nangyayari sa akin doon. Dinideny ko yung fact na kinakabahan ako, na pwede akong mamatay dahil sa na-experience ko. And, all of a sudden, isang araw, when I was off guard, nag-manifest siya. No, and I'm sure there was a time in your life that you have to swallow the fear, right? And you have to go out there and kill your dragon, right? Now, what if this feeling was your everyday case? Parang yung feeling mo na ganito yung feeling na every time nagigising ka, may papatayin kang dragon. Because you've learned that this is the new normal for you. You could tell that this is something wrong, something pathological with the way you process what you're feeling right now. So furthermore on that study, okay, how do people cope with their maladaptive behavior? According to the 125 athletes and coaches, some would numb the feeling with overeating. Daanin na lang sa lamon sa madaling salita. It's normal, I do that, and I'm pretty sure most of you do that as well. Some would overtrain, dadaanin na lang sa training para maibuhos. And some would do self-harm, such as suicide. Now, look, I am not saying na may malaki yung potential na may mag-suicide dahil nakaramdam na ng depression, anxiety. I think that's far too off. But do consider the statistics. Let's just say out of 100, they are feeling this chronic anxiety, right? Hindi nila napaprocess. And suicidal thought came in. It's just a thought. According to this data, 30 out of 100 napag-isipan nila yun. Now, let's just say, out of that 30, one person really contemplated that suicide and was really decided to do it. Right? You could only imagine that. One person who wasn't able to process what he or she was feeling dahil sa kaba na ito and thought that this feeling is life in general, decided to kill himself. Now, ang punto ko sa pag-present ng mga datos na ito is that, like what I said, even us, coaches, athletes, leaders, I would call you leaders, we experience this. We experience anxiety. And for most of us, we don't talk about it. We don't even know how it feels, right? So for this discussion for today, at least I could present to you the physical and psychological signs na baka nakaka-experience ka ng anxiety, and later on, I'm going to provide a tool, a simple tool. As much as I want to present many tools with you, we could only focus with one. All right. So again, napag-usapan natin, self-awareness is very important. This self-awareness is your ability to gauge the internal and the external and the internal. Often, anxiety comes silent kasi napag-usapan natin is the fight or flight response that happens first. right? And you're not able to catch that you are feeling anxiety or depression, right? When you ride along that fear or fight response, hindi mo na notice yung emotions mo. But like what I said, we are intelligent people na kaya natin ma-determine kung nangyayari sa atin. So awareness is important for that sense of urgency. You could tell that you might be having some sort of anxiety pag nakakaramdam ka ng edginess and agitation, right? Medyo jittery, difficulty concentrating, right? Heart rate, nag-i-increase ang heart rate. Example na lang, kailan ba to? Kahapon lang to. Umulan, nasa labas ako, nakalimutan ko ipasok yung sampay, and I know na magagalit sa akin yung girlfriend ko. So, habang pauwi ako, parang ang bigat ng feeling na huminga. I know, na-process na ng utak ko, pero bakit ganito yung feeling ko kahit na-process ko na? It's part of the physiological sign. Fatigue comes pag prolonged yung exposure mo, muscle tension. Over the course of time, pag nasanay ka na gato, helplessness might come, mood swing, worse feelings of guilt, shame, and blame may ride along these feelings of anxiety pag feel mo na wala kang magawa. Hopelessness and disconnectedness. Alright? Okay. Okay, so. Alright. Nag-advance ako. Okay, so perhaps we can predict when you're gonna feel anxious. Okay? When will be your first breakdown? We can't predict those things. But with awareness, kaya natin mag-gauge kung papunta na tayo doon. Hindi lang tayo magiging reactive when it comes to the anxiety. We can be proactive to avoid that helplessness and hopelessness. I mean, nature was so wonderful to equip us with anxiety because, again, it's a reminder. It's a reminder that we have something great that we have to do. Okay? Anxiety is a paradox because when future fear strikes, it reminds you to take even the smallest actions just to break that pattern of fear that you have. Pag tuloy-tuloy yung fear, it can become something learned. But when you're able to catch it, break it, right? Break the pattern. I'm not saying na mawawala yung kabahan, na mawawala yung taong kinakabahan mo, but you're able to cut it and do something productive. Okay? We may never fully control the past, present, or future, but at least we could control the present. All right? Right. So now that you've noticed that you were anxious, yun, nakaramdaman mo yung physical manifestations, right? May mga pinagdadaanan ka right now. And we want to do a proactive approach. It's time to assess kung saan ka nanggagaling. What are the causal factors? Ano yung mga bagay that contributes to your anxiety? And really, when was the last time you've asked yourself na, kailan ko ba huling inassess ang buhay ko? So this is one tool. I use this in integrative healthcare. It's called patterns of being assessment. It's a wheel, right? Let's just say we want to take the wheel going to our goal, to our right direction. But every time that there's a maladaptive behavior when it comes to your sleep, movement, play, diet, whatsoever, that wheel goes backwards. So it's not just one thing that causes anxiety. It's not just sleep. It's an interplay of many, many variables. Hence, ginagamit namin to sa integrative healthcare. Here's another thing. The road, kung saan umiikot yung wheel na yan, is full of friction. Yung gulong na yan, kung saan it's full of friction. That friction happens to be COVID-19. So, mahirap talagang umanda going towards our goals. But you could do something about it. If you could improve something, just 1% on these aspects. All right? And if you do it over the course of 21 days, you have built that habit. If you set a small goal, and if you make small wins, it breaks the pattern of fear. And any day, mas gugustuhin ko na makaramdam ng small wins kaysa maramdaman yung anxiety. Who doesn't? So again, this is just an example. You only do 6 hours of sleep. What can you do? It's up to you. At least try to get 7 hours of sleep. Movement play. I mean, just sa bahay lang, movement mo. Try to do 7,000 steps, the very least. Okay? Yun na nga, diet mo is full of mga pansit canton lang, whatever. Try to reduce your white carbs. I'm pretty sure at this point on nagiget nyo na yung trend, what you need to do with. I want you to list down the smallest goals that you could do for today and do it and accomplish it. And take notice. Notice yung mga naging accomplishment mo rather than focusing on the fear that you're having. Right? It breaks the pattern. You want to break the pattern of fear. You want to be aware and break the pattern of fear. All right? Okay. Sorry. Yeah, this is just an example. This is what I do personally. Para ano yan. And call me obsessed or whatsoever, pero I have a checklist. But it helps. There's this feeling na pag chinek mo, okay ka. When I wake up in the morning, I make my bed. Making your bed is good, right? Because when you're making your bed, you're getting up out of bed. Instead na umiga ka lang dyan and ruminate, you're getting up and you're fixing your bed. Hey, it's just fixing your bed. But whatever happens, kahit matapos yung araw, even the day sucked, at least you go back to bed with a fixed bed. Maayos ang kama mo. But anyway, you get up, right? You take 20 seconds cold shower. It triggers the sympathetic response, right? I mean, parang emergency mode ka, but it's good, right? It's good to be on that mode when you wake up. I have 1 tablespoon of apple cider and cayenne pepper. Apple cider is good for your liver detox. Cayenne pepper is good for your metabolism. I have my coffee. I have my coffee before, after 8 o'clock. Hindi mataas masyadong cortisol. And while I'm drinking coffee, before I turn on my cell phone, before I put my cell phone on social media, nakikinig muna ako with something good. I mean, it's creating the right environment that is conducive for something relaxing. You could do that. You could list that. And every time that you do that, that's a small win. That's better than feeling the anxiety. So ito, continue moving all along the line. Now, you could tell naman na this is, creating small wins for the day. Also, I could provide with you some of these modules later on. Maybe we could communicate. And madami kasi ito eh. So, limited lang ako with I could share. So, given the 30 minutes na nalampasan ko na ata. Pero we can connect and then I could provide you with that. Okay, so here are a couple of more tips. Mabilis na lang naman. We've talked about the short, the 21 days. Now let's talk about something longer, maybe 3 months. Know your triggers. It's very important to know your triggers, right? Is it a person? Is it an environment? Is it a situation? Because when you know the trigger, you can have a sense of control. Pwede mong iwasan, pwede kang gumawa ng alternative behavior, right? When you know the antecedent, you know the behavior, and you know the consequences, you could, figure out a better way how to react to that. Something proactive. You have to question the thoughts. Ito ba nakakamdaman ko logical? Is it possible? Because like what I said, 99% of what we fear, hindi pa nangyayari yan. And it might not even happen at all. You could also do parasympathetic breathing, simple breathing exercises. It's if you breathe in 4 seconds in and then 4 seconds out, it relaxes your system. It's a type of biofeedback. Kung familiar kayo with biofeedback, it's like tricking your brain na relax ka. Pag ang katawan mo relax, right? Iisipin ng utak mo na we are on a relaxed state and that your brain produces delta waves. Tama ba? Delta waves, yes. Mas relax ka. And for that to be able to be triggered, hinga ka lang 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out. Right? Mas nakaka-relax na siya. And if the anxiety is really heavy, again, as leaders, do not be afraid to consult a doctor. Do not be afraid to consult a doctor kung masyadong grabe. Okay? Wala na tayo sa grind culture, sa grind mentality. And also, nutritional integration. As much as possible, try to subscribe to an anti-inflammatory diet. Iwas tayo sa mga puting kanin, puting tinapay, anything that is white triggers brain inflammation. And what does an inflamed brain look like? It's a brain that's really throbbing, and when that is happening, right, mas mabilis ka sa ma-triggered sa mga ganong klaseng responses. And if you just reduce your carbohydrates, hindi lang utak mo ang magbabawasan ng swelling, even your stomach. And lastly, exposure detoxification. Try lang naman. Just try to move away sa mga stimulus na nagko-cause ng anxiety. Be it social media, be it family. Kung family, just try to move, detoxify even for one day and assess how you are. All right. So mabilis na naman, like what I said. Thank you very much. Okay. This setback is just, a setup for your great comeback. I wish this mini talk that I provided was helpful for you, and I hope you understood the psychology, the physiology, and some of the biology. More importantly, have a better relationship with your anxiety. Pag tinamaan ka ng kaba, it's a sign na lumabang ka at gawin mo yung kailangan mong gawin. Huwag kang umupo lang sa takot mo. Tumayo ka, kunin mo yung espada at ang iyong kalasag, labanan mo yung kinakatakutan mo. It's a sign. That's why it's called a paradox. Okay. And also, I would ask if you could like our Facebook page, shameless plugging, 426 MMA, and if you could give us a recommendation, doon ko kayo papadala ng materials. I have published my own materials na rin as an academic. I would personally want to help you sa inyong mga efforts. Again, maraming salamat po.
Wow! Coach Jojo, it is not only helpful but meaningful. That's what I can say. Napakaunting panahon lang pero yun nga ang sabi mo awareness. That's very important, although we all know teachers na medyo mahirap nga ang challenge ng teaching this time of pandemic, but of course with the words that you shared to the community, I would like to represent already the entire all participants who have who are here right now, that truly we learn something, and awareness is very important. And yung mga simple advices na binigay sa atin ni Coach Jojo, like breathing 4 seconds, breathe out, no? So it's really helpful kasi we are always sharing to our students, no, mga kapwa ko guro, no, and to all the participants we have right now. We are sharing to our students, but if we are not psychologically okay, one thing is certain, the delivery of instructions and all the things that we need to deliver for our students will really be affected. That's why our first bite-sized session is truly meaningful. Coach Josh.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And of course, no, sa mga nandito po ngayon sa ating Zoom and sa ating FB Live, please don't forget to like. Coach Jo, ano nga po ulit yun? Ulitin natin.
426 Mixed Martial Arts. 426 MMA sa Facebook. Malaking tulong yan kasi sabi ko na nga, wala akong MMA, and sa Facebook, that's where I get my income ngayon. Monetized ako. So yung mga maliliit na like nakakatulong yun to get the bills paid.
Alright.
Salamat.
Sige, Coach. We will support you, and if there's if you want, we can also promote that via onefesaid.ph. Coach Josh, can you please share screen now the certificate for our speaker? Okay, Sir John.
Hello, good morning. Alam mo, before I read this, very relatable talaga yung discussion ni Coach Jojo sa atin, di ba? Parang it's a bite size, but soon I think we're gonna have some feature it again, di ba? Ayan, so allow me to read this certificate of appreciation. Is awarded to Mr. John Joseph Tabang for generously sharing his expertise as a resource speaker during the One Piece Wellness Day entitled Anxiety Growth Paradox, Turning Fear into Opportunity in Times of COVID-19. Via One Piece Facebook page and Zoom, awarded this 19th of December 2020, signed by our founder, OnePiece.ph, Coach J.R. Viterbo. So again, thank you very much, Coach Joseph, John Joseph.
Alright, let's give him a virtual clap, everyone. No, bigyan natin ng pugay ang ating first speaker. And thank you very much, Coach Jojo. And looking forward, since you're into MMA and that's a medium of physical activity, OnePiece.ph would like to open its doors for another partnership in our for 2021. Baka pwede naman natin i-feature ang mixed martial arts sa ating sports series, di ba? Yon. Alright. Okay. So, now we're gonna jump quickly to the next, and our next is something exciting dahil nga syempre alam natin na usong